Greg Kelly Show.
Check. Yes. All right. The debate is 3 days away, 4 days away, 4 full days. It's going to be a big whoop. I just can't figure out why Trump did this. All right. I guess he had to because he said anytime, any place. And they said CNN with the fake news frontier, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. These people are going to collude, and they are already colluding with Joe Biden, just like they did a couple of years ago with Hillary Clinton. You know, Donna Brazile was working there. Donna Brazile got Hillary Clinton the questions ahead of time, and they cheat. They cheat, and they think they're all that. They're so self-righteous. Again, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Hey, pretty wild, right? Joe is in hiding. Joe is totally off the grid. Like literally, Trump is not exaggerating when they say Joe Biden is in a log cabin. He's at Camp David, and they got nothing but log cabins up there, and he's cramming, and who knows what they're doing to him medically, but he has not been seen in about a week, whereas Donald Trump has been everywhere and anywhere, going to the cheesesteak place, going to hang out with the evangelicals, then having a rally, and then going to see the cops, making statements from his plane. He had one of the most active weekends, I think, of any American, period. Any American. I don't think there's another American who had a jam-packed weekend like he did. All right, he's not preparing, but he doesn't have to prepare. You know, when you are in the moment, when you are in the zone, that's what I would say Trump is right now. He's in the zone. He sounds like a winner. He looks like a winner. And he's doing the stuff that winners do, you know, going for extra points, going to the black church, going to the black community, going to the heart of Philadelphia, places where they say Republicans are not supposed to do well. It's wild to watch what happens on Thursday night. I mean, again, he's in the zone and Joe is desperate, flailing and desperate, but he will have, I assume, I mean, I'm about to play you a little, what do they call a monster clip? This is the reaction that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, the two moderators for Thursday's debate, this is them reacting to a town hall that Trump participated in, where they insist that everything Trump did was a lie, was not true, was misinformation. And by the way, that's their opinion. This is not. You can't say that Donald Trump was lying. Number one, I actually agree with him. And if he says he won the election, now look, I don't think he's lying when he says that. He believes that. And a lot of people agree with him. Okay? It's okay. It's a free country. Doesn't mean there's going to be a riot. See, that's how they want you to feel. Every time you say something about the election, if you say it slightly off, that you run the risk of starting a riot. All right, everybody relax. But I just have no confidence in these two. These should not be the moderators, all right? I mean, do they sound like they're moderate? Go ahead.
It was an interesting night. Mr. Trump's first lie was told just seconds into the night with his false familiar claim that the 2020 election was, quote, a rigged election. And the falsehoods kept coming fast and furious about the January 6th insurrection, about the threat to Vice President Pence, about Pence's ability to overturn the election, about COVID, about the economy and more. He called a black law enforcement officer a thug. He said people here in Washington, D.C. at Chinatown don't speak English. He attacked Caitlyn as a nasty woman because she was trying to get him to answer a question. Perhaps most chillingly, the day after a 9-person jury of his peers in New York found him liable for sexual battery and defamation and ordered him to pay writer E. Jean Carroll $5 million, he made fun of her account of her sexual assault. And many in the audience laughed.
Yes!
Let me start with you.
Including me, because it was preposterous. Her claim made no sense. All that stuff. Jake, this is your opinion. Maybe you should run for office. You called January 6th an insurrection. It wasn't. You say Mike Pence did not have the power to do anything other than rubber stamp those electoral votes. We disagree. They actually changed the law to pretend that there was actually, they changed the law. They had to change it because there actually was the wiggle room that we believe there was for Mike Pence. He called somebody a thug. So what? So what? Chillingly, has anybody seen Mrs. Vagina? Right? Isn't that her nickname? Yes, it is. Now here's Dana Bash, and this is I forgot about this. The letter to the letter from the notorious 51 intelligence officials claiming that the laptop was Russia disinformation. Her ex-husband was one of the signers, Jeremy Bash. Jeremy Bash, he's a real swamp cat, just like she is. So we heard from Jake, and now this is Dana, again, the two moderators for Thursday's upcoming debate on CNN. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dana. We don't have enough time to fact-check every lie he told, but he started off with the election one, and boy, he really just never let that bone go.
And it's pretty clear the evidence is now out there that he is going to continue to tell that lie, not just to the audience where he has an echo chamber, conservative media, but unbiased, straight down the middle media. The people he's trying to get beyond his base now saw and heard that this is something that he will not let go of. The 2020 election lies. And Caitlin pushed him on the fact that the evidence does not support what he said, on the fact that many of his own former attorneys, former aides, have now said that. And he's not letting it go. And that is something that was very much on display for the entire country and the entire world.
Oh, my God. On display. On display. So how are these two going to let Trump talk? Given what they think and how much pressure is going to be on them from the liberal left. How dare you? How dare you let him speak? Will they mute his mic every time he brings up the election? Donald Trump thinks he won that election. A lot of people agree with him, including maybe even the Attorney General, Bill Barr. Yeah, Bill, as a matter of logic, Barr, that they played games with that election. Again, Joe Biden's the president. He signed the paperwork. We look forward, not back. But, when you sue somebody, like let's say you sue the state of Pennsylvania to figure out what the hell happened, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. They have this whole process. I never knew of it before. It's called discovery. Discovery. And you cannot get relief from any court overnight. I mean, it's unless you're on death row, I guess, but it's a long process. It's not set up. This was never really adjudicated. Again, Joe Biden's the president. It's okay to have questions about the fairness of the election. Here's Bill Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, in August of 2020, warning everybody, about the upcoming election. People were screwing with the votes in 2020, and Bill Barr knew it. Go ahead.
Basing that on.
I'm basing that, as I've said repeatedly, I'm basing that on logic.
Pardon?
Logic.
But have you seen any evidence that a foreign country is trying to interfere in that way?
No, I'm saying people are concerned about foreign influence, and if we use a ballot system with the system that that states are just now trying to adopt, it does leave open the possibility of counterfeiting ballots, either by someone here or someone overseas. So you think
a foreign country could do that?
I think anyone could do it.
Have you seen any evidence that they're trying to do that?
No, but most things can be counterfeited. That's why we go to the trouble of making our money the way we make it. Now, should we have Minnesota print up our money on regular parchment paper?
Facing that.
All right. Hey, by the way, Minnesota. Minnesota's in play. They're starting to open offices. Donald Trump's campaign is opening offices in Minnesota. Isn't that pretty cool? They're also opening offices in Virginia. A Republican hasn't won in Virginia since, 2004, George W. Bush. They're opening offices in Philly, in Detroit, in the hood. And it's a wonderful thing to see. The other thing I want to say, folks, when you get the opportunity, and you got to make the time, watch the Trump rallies from beginning to end. You will learn stuff. He's not just reinforcing the message. He's doing some of that, but he's also bringing up some of the stuff that I'm not familiar with, to be honest. I want to learn every day. For instance, I did not learn that there was a Chinese military presence at Bagram, that great big beautiful airport that we left in Afghanistan. He talked about it. He said the Chinese now have it. I looked it up. He's right. Yeah, the Taliban are still there, but the Chinese have a major presence at that airport. Huh? That's I hope that comes up at the debate. That's important. Hey, did you know this also about evangelicals? Evangelical Christians and gun owners don't vote at the numbers you might think. Check this out. Cut 13, please. Cut 13, 1-3.
The evangelicals and the Christians, they don't vote as much as they should. I don't know if you know that, you know? They go to church every Sunday, but they don't vote. And we have to make sure they vote just this time, because all you have to do is this time. You don't have to worry about it, because we're going to straighten it out very fast. Just this time. Go vote. But, you know, they have it's very interesting. The NRA gave me a very big endorsement, and we were talking about it. And gun owners don't vote very much. I mean, I'm saying this is just statistically, we have to get people that own guns have to go and vote. You own a rifle, you want to keep your rifle, you better go vote, because the Second Amendment is under siege and you have to vote. And who would have known that? I think it's sort of a protest. You're so angry about what's happening. But this is over years. Gun owners don't vote much, meaning, you know, some vote, but not, relatively speaking, not that much. And Christians go to church, but they don't vote that much. Do you know the power you have if you would vote? It wouldn't even be. So you got to get out and vote just this time. I don't care. In 4 years, you don't have to vote, okay? In 4 years, don't vote. I don't care. But we'll have it all straightened out, so it'll be much different. Of course, then they'll come in again and they'll ruin it. We'll have to do this all over again. And then we'll come back and say, you have to go vote.
Hey, the headline from that is Donald Trump doesn't care he only cares about his election. That's their takeaway. He's having fun. He's speaking for 2 hours. Joe Biden couldn't dream of this kind of performance. Interesting about evangelical Christians, huh? And you go to church, but you don't come out and vote, which is totally kind of counterintuitive for what I know about the evangelical community, but I've been looking it up, and he's not wrong. There are tens of millions of self-described evangelical voters who don't go out and vote. You know, some of them are so, quite frankly, good for them. They're fulfilled by their own life, and they kind of make sure they block out a good chunk of the world. And hey, speaking of church, I must say I don't go as much as I should, but and I'm doing a little bit of church shopping, and I just can't believe the gay pride flags outside the church. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. Number one, pride. Pride is problematic in the Bible. It's totally pride. And the other thing, it's not just a gay pride flag. It's the transgender gay pride flag. So you got that big transgender wedge coming out of the side, right? Right up there with the American flag in front of the church. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? What do I, and I don't want to get into a fight with the minister. I don't want to get into any, I feel like I'm going to have to say something, though. I just can't. What is the justification? Where is the orgy flag? Where is the flag for gambling? Well, to be a full, I like to gamble. To be me, I self-identify. Shouldn't that be celebrated? Shouldn't that be elevated? There's all kinds of stuff that people want to do that they can't do or shouldn't do. Why is it just this part? Hey, a good friend of mine actually told me, you notice that the drag queen story hour, which is mandated in New York City public schools, they only want to talk to the children. They only want to talk. Why don't the drag queens want to talk to the elderly? There are all kinds of programs where folks go and read to the elderly, right? And especially those with their eyes failing and things like that. The trans, they just want to hang out with the kids, huh? Huh? One of the many reasons why, hey, you low propensity voters, is there such a thing in our audience, this audience? There can be no low propensity. This is it. It's all on the line. Anyway, if he does lose, that whole leaving the country thing is not as insane as it once was. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
Wow. CNN, no CNN. It's not a pro-Palestinian protest. It was an anti-Jew riot in Los Angeles. Have you seen the video yet? I mean, an outright anti-Semitic, open on display, harassing, yelling, harming Jewish people because they're Jewish, happening in Los Angeles. And the whitewash of it all. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. All those damn flags of Hamas, the terrorist state. Goodness. I mean, and the Antifa crowd, the Antifa. What the hell is Antifa? You know what they pretend to be? Anti-fascists. They are the definition of fascism in America. In America. And Joe Biden's playing little footsie, cutesy footsie with that side. Hey, Joe Biden refinanced his house. Wait a second. Brand new information. Joe Biden refinanced his home 35 times. 35 times. Who the hell does that? That's pretty sketchy. I know about refinancing a home once, twice, 35 times. This is an insane number. Oh boy, this is dirty. This is sketchy. This is Rich. How many times have you refinanced your home? Ever? Yeah. What?
I'm sorry, twice.
Twice. Like a normal person, right? Every now and then. 35 times. Off the top of your head, what does that tell you? To me, it sounds like, well, look, you got all this money coming in from Hunter, right? You got to account for it somehow. I don't know. I don't know actually how it fits in the scheme, but it's part of the scheme, right? I mean, why would you do that many times? I mean, who could do that? Well, I guess you could do that if you were a senator from Delaware and your bank was MB&A Bank, which employed Hunter. MB&A, one of the largest banks in the country, the largest bank in Delaware. Hey, another thing from the other night, if you don't mind. Donald Trump speaking about the beautiful women who have been taken by homicidal, illegal migrant maniacs. Something about the tone. It's just so genuine. Cut 22, please. Cut 22.
But we all know the names of too many innocent victims of the Biden migrant crime. Laken Riley. And, Biden was unable to pronounce her name, called her Lincoln Riley. And this was right after. How terrible is that, though? Rachel Morin, who I just spoke to, the mother, is so great. I also met the parents I met the parents of many of the people that died. Met the parents of the soldiers that died so horribly in Afghanistan. But I met Laken's parents, and these are just incredible people. Their lives, I don't know what they're going to do. Their lives have been shattered. Nothing worse than that. It's.
You see what I mean? What do you say? He's reacting like a human being, whereas Joe Biden just has that rote speech. A hole in your heart's going to, the empty dinner place, all that stuff. It's meaningless by this point.
You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
It's so out of order. It's so out of order. Just the devastation. I spoke yesterday with Patricia, and it's just to hear her talk is just, I don't know. I don't know if you recover from it. They say time. It should never happen. Would have never happened with us. We had a strong border. We had the strongest border in history. And just this week, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nunguri, found strangled to death and dumped in a creek in Houston, allegedly murdered by two recent illegal border crossers from Venezuela, viciously murdered. These monsters should never have been in our country, and if I were president, they would not have been in our country. We had a strong border, we had strong protection, and we had very strong protection. In Venezuela, we just mentioned these monsters from Venezuela. In Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. Can you believe it?
It's that wild or what? But the genuine feeling, it's authentic. He is reacting like a human being and wondering and asking questions. Whereas, Joe, you can't tell him anything. He's been around forever. He knows it all. He's suffered worse than you, right? He'd be having a debate with those parents. Yeah, well, I lost my son. He talks like that. He talks like that right to their face. Yeah. Well, it's like a grief contest with that jerk. It's really incredible. And to hear a compassionate man like that, It's compassionate. The other thing I noticed, I don't know if you saw Jamal Bowman and the other maniac AOC jumping around this weekend up in the Bronx. Yeah, they were just jumping around, hooting and hollering and going crazy. They're both up for re-election tomorrow. Tomorrow's primary day. Whoever the hell's running against those guys, you got to help them out. Am I allowed to say that? I mean, I'm not endorsing anybody, but Jamal Bowman, it would be really nice if he were no longer among us in Congress, right? If he didn't represent New York. George Latimer is the guy. And who's AOC up against? Our friend Marty Dolan, who was here last week. Very sharp guy. And what's the other guy's name? Congressman Goldman, another jerk. I just saw his commercial. He walks around in it like he's Clark Kent, Superman, right? And these egomaniac hams, they just think about, I'm going to get a commercial. I'll be in a commercial. Look at me, Dan Goldman, and all these people rushing to shake Dan Goldman's hand. Who cares? Who cares? They're just they all have these weird personalities, so many, unfortunately, driven by the wrong stuff. And all right, so do me a favor, Bowman and AOC, their antics, unbelievable, the profanity. And I compared and contrast that to Donald Trump when he was in the Bronx. Don't they tell us Donald Trump is a threat to our norms, right? And all that stuff. He goes to the Bronx, gives a speech. You may not agree with everything. Maybe he's not your cup of tea, but it was just well within norms. Going campaigning, trying to get in front of people who may not be inclined to vote, getting his word out there, getting his message out there, talking about it. These two were, they were riotous. And Jamal Bowman, F this, F that. They're going for my effing kids. And what the hell is wrong with you? He was dressed also like Bart Simpson. He was wearing those silly shorts that come down a little bit past your kneecap. They just, what are they, Bermuda? It just looks stupid. And, here's Bowman losing his mind. This is over the weekend up in the Bronx. Go ahead.
Ceasefire now, y'all. That's what we're doing. Ceasefire now. Let's get it popping. The polls are open today. The polls are open tomorrow. Polls are open. Make sure you get out to vote. Election day is Tuesday. Let's go. We need record turnout all across the district.
Hey, stop. This is back. This is his social media interview. So a little bit earlier, he's trying to rev up the crowd. Right? And he's standing in front of, I don't know how many people are up there. A lot less than Trump had. And AOC, and they're just jumping up and down and yelling and screaming. It's weird. All right. And this is very odd as well. 35 refinance jobs. Who the hell does that? So the Daily Mail, which is probably one of the best publications in the world, quite frankly, they're unafraid. They get great scoops. Everything from, Joe Biden's corruption to Justin Timberlake, and somebody spotted them at the bar all drunk, and they called the cops ahead of time. I guess you can do that. Maybe you should do that. Hey, you got a drunk driver I think he's about to get into a car. We shouldn't have him out there. Well, you should have cut him off. Maybe talk to the guy first. Did you try to talk him out of driving? Don't friends don't let friends drive drunk, right? Oh, friends turn, unless you're famous and you get turned in. Anyway, Joe and Jill Biden have been using their Delaware house for fast cash, refinancing 20 times with loans totaling $4.2 million since buying the home for $350,000. It's a lot of cash. It's a lot of maneuvering financially. Daily Mail, Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden have been using their homes as an ATM. Now, with both homes together, they've only had two in 50 years, 35 times. 35 times, according to a Daily Mail investigation. The president has lived in two houses in his home state since 1975 when he bought his first property in Wilmington that he later sold in the late 1990s. But records obtained by DailyMail.com show the couple have had a habit of negotiating a new mortgage or credit deal on both homes every 17 months. Over the decades, the Bidens have borrowed a total of $6 million on both properties. And there's still an outstanding $541,000 mortgage on their current 3-bed, 4.5-bath Wilmington mansion nearly 3 decades after they bought it. The constant refinancing raises the question of why the Bidens, who have a reported net worth of $10 million, needed a constant flow of extra cash. Maybe they needed a way to pay back. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense unless they were desperate for cash, a finance expert told the Daily Mail. The revelation comes as questions grow about the president's involvement in his son's Hunter's shady business dealings with Chinese oil giant CEFC and other foreign entities. According to the mortgage documents, the president and first lady purchased their current 4-acre lot for $350,000 in March of 1996, but have since saddled it with 20 different home credit agreements and mortgages totaling $4.23 million. Their previous 5-bedroom, 2.5-bath home in the same town was purchased for $185,000 in 1975 and sold controversially for $1.2 million in 1996. I think that was the DuPont mansion. Records show the property had a total of 15 mortgages and lines of credit attached to it. You know what I got to do? I got to call my wife. All right, she handles the finances actually. The Bidens also own a summer home in Rehoboth Beach, which they scooped up in June of 2017 for $2.7 million, according to Sussex County Public Records. The property data suggests that the 46th president and his wife, who's 73 years old, have needed money fast and used their home's equity as the main source of credit over the years. Joe Biden, a career politician, and Jill, a college professor, are estimated to be worth around $10 million. And additional financial records show the couple pulled in an income of $620,000 in 2023. By the way, he's the guy who ran around boasting of being the poorest man in Congress for such a long time. The first couple released their tax returns in April and revealed their combined income was $619,000. Additional money came from pass-through accounts, book royalties. According to financial forms, Joe, the president, has had no royalties from his 2 books. Promises to Keep and Promise Me Dad. I have both books. I did buy them. They didn't give any of my money to Joe. I bought them last year. That's when I found out that he grew up in Garden City. He grew up in Garden City, home of only 4 country clubs. Additionally, their debt I was in Garden City, right? I had I wasn't rich. We weren't rich, but I could never run and complain about my hardship as Joe does, making up stories about that hellhole, Scranton. I've been to Scranton. It's fine. But he spent a huge chunk of his time in Garden City. And what was his dad doing? Why did he move to Garden City? Because his dad bought an airport nearby. There used to be a lot more airports on Long Island, and his dad ran one of the airports. Doesn't sound like a middle class thing to do, is to buy an airport. The Bidens reported assets between roughly $1 million and $2.6 million. Commenting on the couple's money, L.A. realtor Tony Mariotti, the founder of luxury real estate RubyHouses.com, claimed the Bidens are making a mistake by using their home as an ATM. I don't understand why anyone would view their home as an ATM, constantly pulling money out of your home. I understand to some that equity can feel like dead money, and that's sitting there doing nothing. But over time, mortgage fees really add up. I've always preferred the view that paying off a mortgage over time is a forced savings account that bears modest interest. And I got them all right here. I got every single transaction. Taking their current home first, a year after buying it in 1996, they took out 2 construction home loans in 1997, totaling $899,000 to build the property from scratch, records show. That kind of makes sense. They borrowed a further $134,000, and then $550,000, and then $94,000 over the course of 6 months from 1997 to May 1998 with 2 different banks, Chase Manhattan and Beneficial National. Before these 3 were all paid off, in August of 2003, they took out another $143,000 mortgage and negotiated 3 credit facility agreements for $30,000, $35,000, and $80,000, all with Commerce Bank. They canceled all of this debt by October 2003. By then, they'd just taken out a $649,000 mortgage with Wilmington Savings Fund Society and a separate $99,000 line of credit with the same bank. Over the course of the next 9 years up to July of 2012, they had 6 separate home equity credit agreements with the same bank: $149,000, $10,000, $45,000, $95,000, and $115,000. Many of these lines of credit deals lasted just a few months before being paid off. Then the Bidens moved on to the next refinance deal. Their final agreements were 2 lines of credit with TD Bank for $260,000 and $300,000 in January of 2013 and February of 2014, respectively. The former only paid off in December of 2018. Okay, those two loans were taken when he was vice president. And then it's weird. I don't know. We got to get my wife on the bone. They used Artisans Bank, Delaware Trust. You know, Joe cannot be turned down by any bank in Delaware. He acts like he's the king of Delaware, and in some ways, for many years, he was. That puny state getting a United States senator as corrupt as Joe Biden. Thing about Delaware, it's too far from New York City for the New York Times to get involved. Back when the New York Times was a decent paper. It's too far from Washington, D.C. for the Washington Post to get involved. So where is the media scrutiny? Who's going to keep an eye on any of this stuff? The Delaware News Journal? No. You know, I had my friend Bill Stevenson on, the guy who was married to Jill Biden. I've had him on this radio show a whole bunch of times. Great guy. He really does not hold any grudge against Jill. They were young. Jill had an affair with Joe. He understands that. Things happen. It's that ever since Joe has been out to get Bill. I'd love to get his take on this. And he was out to get Bill. For instance, Bill Stevenson failed to pay his payroll tax in 1982. He owned a big business, the Stone Balloon. He didn't pay his payroll tax, $8,000. And on April 8th of 1982, the FBI arrested him. April 8th of 1982 for not paying his payroll taxes for the first quarter of 1982. The first quarter ended March 31st. They arrested him April 8th. 8 days later, they were out to get him, just like they're out to get Trump. And he still has this small-timey attitude, this small-timey approach to everything. Well, it's all about to run out, don't you think? I feel like time is up. One other thing about the rally I want to emphasize. Again, who knows the name Paula Harlow? Real quick, do you know the name Paula Harlow? I forgot it. When I heard it, I didn't remember. She was the woman who was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison for singing outside of an abortion clinic. They have this new law, very onerous. If you can blockade the Brooklyn Bridge, right? And then go, drink your ass off in Brooklyn with your millennial or not even millennial friends, Generation X friends, whatever. You can take a video of it, put it on Instagram. But if you should do the same thing near an abortion clinic where somebody could easily go around you or step over you or whatever, isn't that kind of like part of, if you're in the abortion clinic business, don't you understand that people are going to protest every now and then? Well, they sent Paula Harlow to jail for more than 2 years. Sentenced last, and she was singing. And Donald Trump spoke about her. And a good reminder, cut 18, please, cut 18.
Just last month, the Biden DOJ got Paula Harlow, a 75-year-old woman in poor health, sentenced to 2 years in prison for singing outside of a class. She was singing, actually, a beautiful voice. She was singing beautifully outside of a clinic. And fearing she would die in prison, her husband pleaded with the judge for mercy and even asked to be thrown in prison with his wife. And the judge responded by mocking their religion. He was mocking their religion. I wonder who that judge is. Paul is one of many peaceful pro-lifers who Joe Biden has rounded up, sometimes with SWAT teams, and thrown them in jail. Many people are in jail over this. This is just crazy. We're going to get that taken care of immediately.
I looked it up who the judge is. It's Judge Kohler-Catelli. And the judge did say some very strange things about Christianity. In addition to the strange, onerous, over-the-top sentence, 2 years. She's 75 years old with cancer. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly. You're listening to the Greg Kelly Show.
I was out in the very trendy and hot West Village last night. Wow. 25-year-olds, don't go to all these restaurants, okay? If I were 25, I would be saving money like a maniac, all right? Save your money. No more signature cocktails, silly vegan meals, all this stuff, taking pictures. I was a little bit taken aback, but there are some great restaurants down there, and we love the food services industry. Something that we don't believe can be taken over by AI, right? Artificial intelligence, right? Can't be taken over. I hope not. Tom, hello.
Yeah, Greg, how we doing today? Listen, why I called, you opened your show with a montage of fake Capper talking about Trump. This morning, Caroline Leavitt was on CNN in an interview. When she started hitting the high points of what fake Tapper was doing, they cut her off. I mean, didn't just shut her mic. They cut her off the air, period. Never happened before on TV, live TV.
Yeah, I know. I saw it, actually. It was, it's pretty wild that she was so like, you will not attack one of my colleagues. You know what? You can't criticize Jake Tapper. I mean, I'm sorry, but CNN, what do they do all day long? They criticize Republicans all day long. They are always they say nasty things about Republicans, and you're sitting there and they try to get you to, condemn somebody else. That's their big thing. Let's condemn this person or that person. Do you condemn Donald Trump? You're attacking Donald Trump. Nobody flips out. Nobody takes off their mic and walks out. That was something. Her name is Casey Hunt. I'll never forget the first time I saw her. It was 2016, Election Day. And she's standing somewhere, and she's like, the Hillary Clinton people are very confident this morning going into the election. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So thank you, Tom. I'm going to play that in just a little bit. It was wild. Caroline Leavitt is amazing, by the way. Great spokesperson for Donald Trump, probably the next press secretary if everything goes well. Alan in Pennsylvania. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Greg. I have a question. Are they going to just escalate this during the debate by utilizing the gag order when Trump is making statements to mute him? I'm almost feeling like this is a prerequisite for literally putting on their legal hat and saying in a virtuous way, well, there's a gag order, we're not going to go there, the way Leslie Stahl did to him with a laptop on 60 Minutes.
She was corrupt in a different way. It's not up to the fake news to enforce anything in terms of some judge's order. It's funny. What will they try to pull off? I think if I had to bet my own money, they will make a desperate play to try to trip up Trump and protect Joe Biden, and it'll be a spectacular mess. That's what my gut is telling me. I don't see, because you know what they're afraid of? Jake and the other one, Dana, they're afraid of the left. They are afraid of the critics, the social media people who talk about them all day long. Now, I mean, it's funny. It just flows right through me. Well, number one, I'm on the side of my audience, MAGA. I'm totally with you. Their audience is totally psycho brain, leftist kook, and they don't know what to make of them. So it's weird, Alan. Thank you for that. We'll see. Let's do Susan upstate. Hi.
Hi there, Greg. You know, just recently I heard Biden trying to bash Trump because he said his separated families at the border. Well, that's because they checked the DNA of the children to be sure that they weren't being trafficked. And Biden stopped that policy.
He stopped everything that was working. Everything Trump must be bad. How many more months? 4.5.